did not necessarily respect their power spikes, and that's what SKT uses to their benefit in the majority of their wins, is finding the exact right time to turn on. EDG gave him a bit of an early game gift, and now it's all about that last 5th game adjustment.
And last game when SKT were on red side or purple side, they banned LeBlanc as the first one. This time around, they haven't banned it yet. I do wonder if they could even consider it as a first pick. I think there's so many other really good picks, and for the mid lane as well, there are so many strong options that you don't have to first pick it. But then again, it is Faker.
We talk about the aura of Faker sometimes, and 5th pick, blind pick LeBlanc, something he's willing to do. There is so much pressure on these guys. You can be the most seasoned veterans possible, but when you're in a situation like this, in the 5th game of an international tournament that had the #1 team from all the major regions around the world, and one pick and one game can change your destiny there, you have to respect LeBlanc. It would put a shock through just the mentality of everyone in that game.
It is open now, but so is things like Urgot as well. So we get to see the priority.
Urgot,
it is not the LeBlanc.
Urgot the anti-hype.
Yeah,
right.
Urgot is always #1. If he's open, you grab him as your first pick.
Not as pretty as LeBlanc, but he'll do for a first pick. See what EDG has. Koro still wants to focus back on that Maokai. Has been a key factor for EDG, but overstepped his boundaries last game.
He did. He was way too aggressive the way he was moving around. He teleported up to top lane, having no idea what was going on after a lane swap as well. He got punished. But look at the pick and bans here. Jinx has been banned now against Deft, and then Kalista was banned on the side of EDG. That's also why this Urgot is such a high priority, because now there's not really a good pick left for Deft to play into Bang when he takes his Urgot down into the bottom lane.
We also got Mako going back to the Alistar. Crumbs was saying if you miss those spells, you're in bad trouble with Alistar. It's not as bad. Does he lock it in? Koma's right over the shoulder here talking to Faker, saying, I don't know what he's saying, but if he locks it in, he's saying play LeBlanc. Bengi's hovering the Nunu. 18 seconds left on the clock. Faker stone cold in his look. Could he switch off it? Is he toying with everyone? Faker's LeBlanc, one of the best.
Yes, sir.
He locks it in for game 5.
Faker has never lost with LeBlanc on the competitive stage. 12-0 in the semifinals against CJ Entis in blind pick. He picked LeBlanc and just took over that game, and now he has it here.
This could be explosive.
Alistar has already been locked in for the support. Maokai's been locked in for the top lane, and now Morgana is being picked by EDG for that mid lane, unless we're gonna see some crazy jungle swap around here going on for them.
Hey man, Pawn was the guy that said this guy may not even be ranked anymore, so we'll see if he can prove that against his best champion.
This is a matchup where there's not really any kill pressure for Faker, and he has to be so careful when he distortions in, because if he gets caught by the binding, then instantly Morgana's gonna all in onto Morgana and win that trade.
And in that matchup, unless Faker's jumping over a minion wave, all Pawn has to do is shoot the binding at the distortion. It's guaranteed to land. So Morgana is actually a lane counter matchup to LeBlanc. Faker would have to find other ways of winning this game, whether it's through ganking or through roaming.
Koma super involved here in this champion select, as always, but never up with the players like this.
I think he's just saying LeBlanc. More LeBlanc.
I want you to play LeBlanc too.
This pick and ban phase is a complete departure from the other ones we've had. It's have a few similarities with the priority picks changing back and forth, but as soon as you bring in Morgana and Sivir and the Alistar steal away, the complexion completely changes. EDG is a roaming ball of tankiness right now, and they need to complete that with their next pick.
Talk about how there's no real good pick for them against the Urgot. So this is going to be a very strong 2v2 lane for SKT. EDG would have to swap away from it with the Alistar Sivir in that case and be on the top side of the map, giving SKT the dragon control they want when you have LeBlanc in the mid lane.
Got it!
So,
pulled it out last year at the World Championship.
The reason for this Evelyn pick, the reason for this pick here, first of all, it's good into Nunu, because Nunu doesn't have the damage to kill the Evelyn. You can also remove the slow. And what happens as well is, if SKT has these aggressive lanes, Gnar is going to be pushing against the Maokai. We know LeBlanc is going to try and make plays. We know Urgot Nautilus is a fantastic lane as well and playing very aggressive. When you're against an Evelyn, your entire mindset changes because you won't spot her on the standard wards unless you ward on the camps. So you always think to yourself, oh, Evelyn could be here. I haven't seen her for a while. I'm just going to sit back and farm a little bit more because I don't want to risk going aggressive and then being ganked by the Evelyn.
Deficio is now a believer of the Evelyn. On the bus ride over to the event, we had a long discussion about Eve. And we're like, I think Evelyn's pretty good, man. And you're like, no way, no.
Nope.
Well, we're going to see right here. First Evelyn we've seen at MSI.
The ones I've seen in Europe.
He has to impact the early game. Otherwise, that pick falls apart.
As I was just saying, he did at Worlds last year with a single pick of Evelyn throughout those stages. And he played quite well for the team. Wasn't enough to carry, but it needs to here. The shake from the coaches one last time as they leave their players to game number 5. This one is for all the marbles. Tweet either hashtag SKT win or hashtag EDG win to @LOL Esports. Let us know who you think will win the 2015 mid-season Invitational. Ladies and gentlemen, game 5 is here. It has happened. SKT was able to stop the EDG consecutive wins, and game 5 is on.
And this game just has everything. Had you told me before the tournament started that we would see Faker on LeBlanc, first of all, in the last game, you would see Evelyn jungle and Morgana mid lane, I would have called you insane.
It's the perfect story for whatever happens, and we're getting so excited just watching the beginning of this game. I can only imagine the nerves the players within it are having now that there are all these new variables that they have to account for, especially with EDG's relentless aggression when they're finally able to get a lead versus SKT's control. Which style is more likely to break when the pressure is on?
I think we get to see EDG staying on the bottom lane. They're just going to play it safe with Deft and his Alistar body in this lane here. Don't want to give up the early control. I wonder if SKT, they must be swapping top either because they're expecting it or because what people used to do against Evelyn was they would lane swap and they would force Evelyn to just sit in a lane and defend with her top laner or go down and like fake a dive maybe and just jungle body, and that would release all this early game pressure she had because you didn't have to stand at lane. So that could also be one of the reasons for SKT to swap to the top side here and try and dodge around EDG's bottom lane.
Also, when you have an Eve, lane swaps can make themselves much less vulnerable to the early game ganks, which, especially if SKT isn't used to playing against a jungle Eve,
right.
This is the deepest of pocket picks for Clearlove right now.
And that really is the thing.
And you have to, that's actually really great by Faker, you have to ward on the camp in order to ward Eve. Your wards have to completely change. You cannot ward normal areas since Evelyn will be invisible running through the river. Instead, you have to catch her when she is visible on top of the camp. So great ward there by Faker.
Already adding a little bit of damage to Pawn as well in the mid lane. See Wolf coming out of the top side of the jungle here as well. Looks like he wants to find Clearlove immediately. No guesswork here for the early part of the game for these guys. They're going to have all the knowledge they need.
So, it is the double jungle now, and when you're playing lane swaps anyway, you're not expecting to have deep wards and spot the enemy jungler. You should be able to predict, okay, are they pushing the wave so we know the jungle and top lane is going to be nearby so they can go and dive us if our top lane is there alone. So that's why Evelyn loses a lot of her early pressure because of this. We see top wave up here is being pushed in by, it's slightly frozen by Bang, not a whole lot. I think he's going to push it back the other side.
The mid wave's actually in a bad spot for Pawn right now. Because of the lane swap, the priority of roaming is actually really, really high. Oh, nice binding there by Pawn. He's going to just want to shove Faker in, but he needs a few levels before he can do that efficiently.
Like a curveball binding coming out on that one. Didn't even think Mako thought that was going to hit. He already backed off, and they're actually looking to see if they can pinch. They're not going to find Wolf anywhere near this.
They can pinch if they don't show in the lane right here.
Have that setup here where with the wave beam pushing in the bottom lane, SKT should expect multiple members to be nearby. Yet Marin is now teleporting in. Wolf is here to help him. It's 4v2.
Oh, what timing here by EDG. Marin's going to go down to an ignite. They don't know Bengi's coming as well. How long do they stay for this? If Wolf can get some good passive shots down on different
nice
members,
shot by Wolf.
That's going to be good kills. They get one for themselves now and a 2-for-1. Bengi's going to be able to stave off any more. But a great job there by Wolf.
Wolf was able to quickly see who the turret had drawn aggro on and dredge line Clearlove back into the turret to make that a somewhat equal trade.
But this TP here from Marin was way too early. He had to wait for Bengi to join as well, so he knew he at least had some backup. Because EDG, as it hasn't shown anywhere, they were pushing the wave. You're expecting him to be on that bottom side. He ends up going down. 2 kills early for EDG. This is what they used the games they won so far. Great early starts where they suddenly start forcing fights on SKT with a small advantage.
And Koro has something he didn't have the entirety of game 4, and that's a kill. In order for this team to win, I was saying between games to Fishio that the key to this game is Koro versus Marin as far as who can be effective because of the ability to start fights, especially with home guard TP, and not have to time it perfectly versus being extremely tanky. The early kill there, and now that he's actually getting farm and experience, is great for Edward Gaming.
Lane back out into the middle here for Koro, not having too much trouble farming under the turret.
Wolf.
Bang can't do much. Wolf indeed going a little too deep into enemy territory. That flash is blown. Dredgeline to the terrain. He'll have it back up again. And EDG's not going to be able to follow.
That was a risky invade. He wanted to get the wall around the camp here to see again. Try and spot that Evelyn by keep getting deep wards in. You need to have vision of her before you can start making plays.
Fleet Faker. Very nice move to the right there. Nope, just hit level 5, so 6 will be coming in a few waves. A lot of aggression from him already in the mid lane. QWs as soon as he can.
Yeah, I'm amazed that Faker didn't get hit by that Dark Binding, but he could sidestep it right away to keep the trading even in this lane. Got hit by that one.
Yeah. Oh, Pawn giving a giggle. Said can't dodge that one. Still a lot of mana between these two in the mid lane. Gotta mention that Ignite on Pawn to the cleanse on Faker. He'll be flying around in these fights, so you've got to keep an eye on that.
Maxing the W here for the Morgana in the mid lane, just looking to constantly push it out and make sure Faker is stuck in the lane. They don't want him to start roaming, so if you keep pushing in with this Morgana here, at least you can punish him somewhat by maybe taking his tower, poking it down, but if you force the LeBlanc to just sit and try and farm on the tower, you can control the river. That's why EDG now opens up the Dragon here as well, because of course we had Bang on the top side and Faker was pushed all the way down to his tower. First Dragon will go to them. Good control in this mid lane.
Nice opportunity granted, but the Dragon actually resets. Won't be a big deal. The only thing that EDG has to worry about at the moment is Clear Love's levels. Still just level 3, not even on the way to level 4. Bengi is level 5 at the moment. But if they can keep finding SKT in between these turrets and isolating them, beautiful!
Sweet.
Wolf may not be able to make it out of this one alive. Too many members. Again, Koro is here for this one as well. And he starts to get himself going even more. That kill's actually picked up by Mako as they keep pressuring this turret. I don't know if Bang wants to stay here.
Timing the headbutt to interrupt the dredge line pull from Worf there secures the kill.
Yeah.
EDG is a roaming kill squad, but SKT is trying to keep up and farm right here.
Trying to keep up in farm, but look at the top lane here. It was pushed all the way down to the tower, so hard for Marin to do a whole lot. There's going to be one down bottom lane for EDG if they want it. Seem to prefer just letting all the minions take it down in the end, and EDG backs away here. So already open up the map a little bit for themselves. This is, of course, even better for the Evelyn. The more room for her to roam around, the harder it is for SKT to keep down the pink wards as well, because you can start invading in and clear them so Clearlove can walk it down.
But SKT is trying to get some semblance of control back. Bengi has been counter jumping. The gold is actually still very close despite being down 2 kills and a turret. With the Sightstone being occupied, Bengi has been able to get wards on the camps.
Let's just see it again. Beautiful. Flash in, stops it. Wolf doesn't get to the wall. Now ends up dying. He lost a flash earlier when he walked in and put a ward in a Wolf camp very, very aggressively.
Well, like you said, Jet, SKT putting those pieces in motion to make more happen. Deep pink wards to keep an eye on. Clear Love. I think he's going to return to his side of the jungle to make sure Faker gets what he needs. It took Faker a little bit to get going on the Kassadin. Really not a lot has been focused towards the mid lane here, because I'm sure EDG doesn't want to have a few fall that way and mistake as well.
It's been the same in nearly every game we've seen today. The mid lane is a bit of a farm lane in the start. It's about the side lanes, about the junglers, what they can do to support roaming around. And then later on, these mid laners, they join for the big team fights. Now, obviously, again, with this Morgana counter pick, you're just gonna sit and force the bank to stay in lane with you. That's all you do. Very defensive start as well. Early magic resist. Straight into an Abyssal.
EDG does not have much of a late game in this one either. If we're looking at the builds right here, Clearlove goes Warrior Enchantment on Eve. Morgana is great mid-game, but is not able to take down carries in the late game. Their roaming kill strategy is really strong, and what a move by Mako!
He used a minion, then Soul Shackles Faker. There's going to be Clearlove coming up as well. Faker gets the Mimic there, and he's going to be able to get out alive. Whew, very, very close. Looks like EDG still wants a little bit of pressure here in the mid lane as we see Deft on his way up.
The roaming around from EDG after they took that bot lane tower, pushed in the wave, got a few deep wards, and then went straight for the mid lane. Faker didn't expect it. He did stay alive, but used both summoners. And EDG, they're back to fast pushing in. You have so many tools to clear the waves, Sivir, Morgana, and so on, to get down and get some hits on the towers every single time you force someone back. And then look later on as well. Land one binding, follow up with some poke from Sivir. That's how you try and poke people out.
Oh, binding just misses. EDG is putting on an incredible amount of pressure right now. It's on SKT to try and absorb that pressure and push out the lanes. If we also check out the farm, they're winning in every statistical category farm-wise, which is what's keeping them back in this game.
Right up against the turret. Is this the finalizer from Faker here? Can he clean up the fight? Koro a little too tanky for the damage they're bringing. There's the mirror image from Faker.
Ooh,
he's going to start dancing around. Pulls back and Faker's good to go.
Koro would have stayed alive there, I think. He tried to flash the distortion, but Faker landed anyway because he ended up basically flashing into it, taking the damage. Still, the mid lane, because two guys had to go top to get that kill, has been pushed down. We talk about the Morgana Sivir, how fast they can clear these waves. That's one binding.
Wolf does not, he does actually just got his flash back up and is forced to use it. Luckily for him, Ignite was also burned on that one, so they cannot decide to go back in for any kills. Not that even EDG is at low health right now. Clearlove heading back to clear out some camps. Minute and 30 on Dragon here as EDG has already some setup wards towards that Dragon area.
Tremendous game so far, and we need to look for the item power spikes to see where this one's really going to turn, because honestly, SKT has done a pretty good job absorbing and keeping the farm up, but they have lost 2 turrets. So therefore, SKT needs some items if they can hope to fight back against EDG. There is not yet an Abyssal Scepter on Pawn, but there is a Morellonomicon on Faker, thanks to that kill he could pick up in the top lane. Additionally, Clearlove is down a Sightstone to Bengi, and there's an early Avarice from Deft, which means he needs to farm up a little bit before hitting those big item breakpoints. SKT, dangerous times to be out here. Thank goodness for the Sightstone on Bengi to get them some ward coverage.
They are really gonna be close to unkillable in the late game, also with Clearlove going for the Warrior Enchant. No late game scaling for him really. So the Nunu-Gnar combo, then you have the Urgot as an AD carry. EDG in the late game team fights is gonna be more about catching someone out than running straight at SK Telecom. We'll have to see once we get to that point. Deft is, of course, straight back to just pushing in for EDG. They keep using this fast pushing potential they have, and they're using it beautifully.
Late game for EDG, Deft would have to go superhuman for them to have damage, so his kills are actually incredibly important unless they can accelerate this game.
Oh, looks like we also have Wolf coming in here for Pawn. He's gonna draw the dredge line. Don't know if that actually hit the wall or Pawn. Pawn's still moving around here. He's gonna put down the Soul Shackle now into Wolf. Twisted advance there as Koro finalizes the kill. And now Faker actually gets hit with that binding, but Mirror Image comes off, so he's still able to run around. Clearlove trying to focus now with the rest of the team. It is onto Faker. That's his Mirror Image, and he is already out and ready to make
more. He goes deep.
Chain miss. That's gonna be Koro going down finally after wanting too much in the fight, and the team couldn't answer with it.
Nice fight there by SKT. It's exactly when they needed it too, because they have no turrets behind them, so they have to be able to win those team fights out in the open. This can also translate into a Dragon.
Very nice play by Faker to leave the clone in there. Definitely took some of the abilities, helping SKT to win that fight slightly. Kill onto Koro, usually what they're looking for, and they've got him down twice already this game.
Okay, so let's see it again. Entire combos used in the start of this fight, but both the mid laners. Wolf is in here as well. He will get stunned, but that's the only member from SKT. And that's a big ulti down now for EDG. The fight breaks out. Clearlove comes down first. Look at Deft on your minimap. He's not there yet.
Oh, it cleansed.
So SKT has a big advantage at this point, and we already...
And then Deft also walks back and forth around that side because he didn't want to overcommit down the bottom. honestly, the team communication and the flash by Bang at the last second to pull Coral back is what ended up turning that fight. It very easily could have just been a 1-for-1 trade if not for that nice flash by Bang.
Fast fingers all around. EDG, SKT are now tied 4-4 after these fights. Just a 300 gold lead. A little bit more of that percentage lead over towards SKT coming from social media. 2-0 in turrets here. EDG has that map pressure. See if they can continue to dive on these turrets. They haven't had too many chances, but it is where they thrive.
Keep the focus on top lane. There's no dragon alive now. Last one went over to SK Telecom, so you still want to try and get down this last outer turret. There's a lot of wards in this bush. Oh, Faker.
Somebody wanted to fight in that brush, and their name was EDG. It's a bit of wasted gold right there. They do have 2 side zones, though.
Look at the move here from SK Telecom, though. They know the top lane is being pushed in, so they're sending up a lot of guys to try and defend it and maybe see if they can force another fight. Mako, he goes in first, though.
Could still focus this on Damar, and they don't know who else is coming, though. It seems like they're a little hesitant to take the fight, and Bang is just on the backside there. So EDG keeping in mind not to go too hard. Saves them some trouble.
It is a problem, though, for EDG that they only have the Sivir to really push the side lanes right here. There's not a whole lot of help coming from an Evelyn when it comes to taking down a tower. So as long as SKT can move Bang around and follow Deft, he should be able to just lane fairly easily against him, just hold him there and not allow him to push it down. Oh, Faker. Coming back down to Coral.
Some nice things coming out in line for SKT shortly. Merman has been completed for their Urgot. They have a nice amount of magic resistance on Marn, which is critical for him to be stacking early since Sivir is the only physical damage dealer on EDG. The Mega Nars and Marn's impact in these team fights might be the most critical thing since he can withstand so much grunt and allow Faker to assassinate people in and out in team fights. These are going to be very long team fights. It's not so much about Faker blowing one person up immediately. It's about him chipping people down, dashing in and out.
That's the thing. It's so hard for him to find a target. I mean, there's Spell Shield for Sivir. You have the Black Shield for Morgana. That's the 2 main damage dealers you want to get towards. So we're going to have to see what the rest of the SKT members can do. I mean, I'm looking towards Bang instead of this Urgot. As long as he stays alive and just slowly pokes people down, SKT with the tankiness should be able to have long enough fights where EDG simply run out of power.
SKT has withstood the early game barrage from EDG thus far. EDG wants to try and run away with this one. They have to group early, and they need a level 11 fight with Morgana where Pawn lands a big ultimate. I feel like other than that, EDG might kind of be running out of time.
It might have to be around the next dragon when it spawns because, again, Bang is just keeping Deft in this lane here, not allowing him to push it down. There's been no reaction from anyone else on EDG. The 2 mid laners are still sitting in mid, just pushing it in and out. And now, SKT
we've kind of accrued 4,000 gold on each side from farming that top lane, and other things happening. Last time we looked, it was 20,300 each side, and these guys are waiting and gated by that next objective. Don't want to do too much just yet. You can see Faker wants to steal some souls as he picks up the Magi's.
He's feeling it. It is a Faker item in a lot of real games. It is gold efficient when you buy it, so he's looking to try and catch a fight and then take over the game.
This whole time, Def's trying to push the lane, and now SKT is under EDG's turret. Looks like they're going to be able to grab that for themselves. Wolf, nice dodge on the Dark Binding, preventing any of that crowd control from hurting SKT's disengage, but it's going to be Bang putting himself right in the fight. Koro's already teleported in from the backside as well. Bang falls down. Wolf gets one last passive control onto, I believe, Deft, and he goes down as well. The double kill finally coming in for Pawn. He's been looking to get something going on the Morgana.
Faker and his Soul Stealer were not in that fight. They did match the teleports, but that's exactly the fight EDG needed to find since they are running out of time. Pawn got in the middle of them. His rank 2 Morgana ultimate did a ton of damage. It completely shut down SKT, and that was a really good fight for EDG there.
Straight back to the mid lane, trying to defend it while the rest of EDG, I say Koro when I say the rest of EDG, who's doing the other guys staying up there, will take down this top tower. So now they finally got the last outer turret down. It's time to really break into the jungle of SK Telecom, take full control, and when you have a Morgana with these bindings here, if she's sitting where you can't see her, it's very easy to land it. If someone is face checking it, that's how you create another pick, and that suddenly leads into objectives like Baron, like Dragons for EDG. So they have to play around the top side of the map when the next dragon is gone so they can start getting control of this Baron when it starts spawning, and they start creating some picks around it.
Yeah, looking at this fight again, swapping the Evelynn is actually not too well advised because that groups up for the giant shield on Clearly. You could tell they couldn't even come back after that, and they very quickly realized the error of their ways because they opted into a 4v5, and EDG makes short work of them barely getting touched. Oh, this dragon is absolutely massive though. Speed Trine control is big.
Mako slowly on the outside. They have no chance to even look at that dragon. It is down. Marin is gnarred out, and EDG may not want this right away. They put a lot of focus onto the tank. Faker already has depth with a spell shield down. Just a few more to finalize that kill. It's actually Faker that gets hit. He's forced to flash, and now Wolf is left in a sore spot. Faker's Mimic coming, or rather Mirror Image coming back to try and deter the fight, but Bang may also go down here as well. Faker got a few stacks on this one, but that's all that he's going to get as his team goes down after grabbing Dragon.
So once again, EDG, they get a fight where they're really, really strong here in the mid game. Faker had to cleanse Flash out of the pool of the Morgana to stay alive. This was even with Def being caught on the wrong side. The rest of the team were walking up this ramp here, where Mako is walking around, but they won the fight, didn't get the Dragon though. That can be big later on.
Guys, we've been talking about sending a message, and how much more of sending a message than giving Faker his undefeated champion and trying to play against it here in the finals. Pawn has, we know, to bring out the Fizz, the Kassadin, not offhanded picks, but ones that he will control a game with, and now the Morgana.
Always go back to comfort in the most critical situations, something Pawn is veering against with the Morg. Look at that binding though, hitting Faker, cleanse, flash, burn. And also this Dragon that SKT committed to is important in the overall context of completing the game, but until they can get a third Dragon, really doesn't mean that much. The enhanced turret damage that they're going to be getting from that won't help them in the team fights that are inevitably going to happen around this objective.
Right. It's more about the fact that you stop EDG from having another way of closing out the game. And that's obviously by potentially forcing what could have been a fifth Dragon fairly early on. That's one of the snowball ways we have seen from these mid-game compositions. That completely gone by having two Dragons on the side of SK Telecom, so they can play it slower, they can play it safer, they won't have to go into a bad Dragon fight. Now EDG, if they want to keep forcing, they need to have control around this Baron here, so SKT has to walk close to see if anything is going on with the Shrine Orb, to try and get a ward over the wall maybe, and that's where you can create a pick with the Morgana. Because sieging the towers can be a little bit more tricky, even though there's not a whole lot of wave there, honestly, for SKT. So I guess that is also an option for EDG. They can move the Morgana Savior together, push these waves in, look for bindings, because SKT only has the LeBlanc really to clear the waves out.
I think that's what EDG might end up doing, because Pawn is at an incredible point of power right now, especially with blue buff. Assuming they can get some type of shutdown on Bang in these fights, they can make pushes happen. But because of the blue buff harassment by Marin there, it opened up just a small enough window for them to go. There's Sephiroth. They really want to fight.
They just hit their spell shields to block Faker's damage. They are going to get in onto Wolf, though. Good kill coming from Deft. They are still following with a bit of on-the-hunt pressure. Righteous Glory just wears off, and they go in. Koro's right in the middle with Venge from Maelstrom on.
That's a huge all
damage. The Soul Shackle causing SKT to flash out every which way. EDG is all over SKT, all over the health bars, and they drop everyone but Bangy and Faker.
And they find the fight with the Sephiroth. They landed enough Dark Bindings. They know they are in their absolute peak of their power spike right now. They are trying their best to get a big enough lead.
That was also started by SKT pushing up on that tower here. They're not staying together as a team, so EDG pops everything they have, the Righteous Glory from Koro here, and they get the engage they want. They're really having a lot of success. Keep forcing fights right now.
Brute force. There's so much vision around. Everybody knows these fights are coming. They're just making them work still.
Vision as well. Crumbs talked about it on the analyst desk. The feast or famine nature of these support games. Mako versus Wolf in this context, Vision or not. The Alistar has been making play after play, and honestly, Wolf has been caught out numerous times this game.
And then also you see Marin sitting there in Mini-Gnar, not even close to getting his ulti. So by EDG forcing the fight, they know that there's a big difference in top lane as the Maokai will always be so impactful in the fights because you don't need to wait for that Mega-Gnar to use it.
Also, looking at that pickup by Mako, Crumbs also said if you miss your summoners and miss a lot, it's going to be dangerous in there. Not so much for Alistar. You can still participate and still help in that fight, and Mako's doing big stuff.
And he also was able to get enough gold to finish an incredibly early locket for support. with the flash boots as well. Mako will be making as many initiations as possible, and look for him to actually go on to Bang, since Pawn can generally get an ultimate off with his Black Shield. They can deal with the magic resist thanks to their builds and their itemization. The one person they want to kill right away is the Urgot physical damage, and Marin as well.
And really the hard thing here for Faker is the fact that it's EDG forcing the fights onto SKT, so he never gets to position himself in a way where he can get onto one of the squishy targets. Whenever he jumps in, EDG can see him, they can time spell shields, black shields, and everything they need to block the damage coming, and there's just not any kill pressure, or there's no kill pressure for Faker at the moment in these big team fights, because they always have full vision of where he is.
45 seconds on to Dragon. You can see the sweeps coming out, but also the scrying orb, well placed by Bang, having an inkling of where EDG was trying to set up another death brush. Looks like this will be a contested Dragon for both teams. With those summoner spells once again, quite a few are up. We just have Clear Love Smite out of camp, so they may have to set this one off for a little bit. He should have it back in time though.
SKT really wants to control this next Dragon. But the question will be, are they strong enough to come in on this one? Faker just finished a Void Staff, which is a huge difference in power from the last fight. Frozen Heart also completed onto Bang. They don't necessarily have the vision control, and they love to start with the pick. This could be game-changing.
They're trying to push in the mid lane here to see if they can get EDG to back away from this Dragon here and move into this mid lane to clear the waves. Trying to at least create some pressure around it. They have a small area here of the river. Faker just gonna poke away. Ulti down for a few more seconds for him. Look at Clear Love here on your minimap. Trying to sneak behind.
The Evelyn flank is real.
There is a pink though being placed by SKT. The ultimate counter.
Oh, teleport in from Maokai. This is a double flank.
Clear Love coming in as well. That's the two of them coming from SKT's side here. Wolf's going to be the first focus, so he can't crowd control the fight. Koro and the rest of the team now reposition. Marin in the middle, but everybody dodges immediately as he gives the Gnar ult out. A double kill coming in for Clear Love as he comes up huge with the ultimate, and it looks like they will continue to push SKT off of that fight.
And once again, EDG is having full control before the fight starts. They're the one engaging and they're the one flanking, so they can see where Faker is at all times. They can get onto the right targets as well.
This is a huge decision. They are fairly low after that fight. They do not take the easy Dragon. Instead, they try and go for the big play Baron. Marin and Bang are here. They're peeling off.
Marin's teleport plays have saved SKT more than once. Will it be this time again? They do lose out on Faker there. Faker comes in. Faker doesn't have that many stacks on that Magi. It's only 7 now. Now he's starting to stack it up as he takes down Mako. He still has eyes on the rest of the team. Elixir of Sorcery on him as well to get out a bit of extra damage. Koro finds him with the Twisted Advance as he pulls back to Distortion, and he can't get out alive. Marin's forced to turn as soon as he gnars out. Unfortunate for SKT, and EDG is smiling ear to ear.
It is scary how many ways EDG has of locking down this LeBlanc here. The Morgana counter picking lane. Maokai just point on clicking on Faker when he jumps in to follow him.
Dragon fight.
This is the flank from Clear Love, and then Koro coming in. And you can see how both Bang and Faker are already forced out of the fight. They're only hitting Koro. This is 2 guys just hitting the tank of EDG. So there's all the time in the world now for the rest of EDG to just clean up the front line of SKT and then start diving on.
And Deft is actually picking up a significant amount of damage right now. Infinity Edge, Static Shiv, Last Whisper, soon to be Death Cap on Pawn. No Zhonya's in that Morg build because he is blowing people up, and they do not respect the damage of SKT right now because, honestly, their tanks are doing their job right now. SKT again going in to force this Dragon. Here's a fight.
Bengi in the front, Absolute Zero gets popped immediately. Hardly any damage to be delivered there. And Marin, he's going to get the binding. He's going to Gnar. That may be enough time, but SKT actually doesn't go back in. It's just kind of saving him for now. But Koro finds his way in. Wolf's going to be next. Do they follow over the wall? No, they get position, and they are going to back and start to push that mid.
And something I thought I would never see. Faker failed his distortion over the wall in the middle of that fight, which really helped EDG push it through. Again, the Dragon is but a ruse. They could take it for free and get the second, but they're going for the big play. EDG knows they are still on a timer despite all of these fight wins.
A lot healthier than last time, but only 3 members of SKT now approach the fight. Faker, if he gets a good double distortion, could clear the health bars here, but uses the first one onto Mako. That gives EDG enough time in the Baron pit alone, and they get exactly what they want. One of the biggest prerequisites for them to end a game, and we'll see how they work it now, coming up on 30 minutes in, a 7,000 gold lead in Game 5 over SKT.
The last 10 minutes have been very important for EDG. They just kept forcing fights on SKT. The fact they never allowed SK Telecom to set up vision and try and create picks with your assassin in the middle and just force them into team fights over and over has been so important for EDG. Nobody's tanky enough to survive the burst coming from EDG, and now look at Faker here on the other side of the wall. Marin gets Meganar, and even though
right into the wall.
Right into the wall, but he wouldn't really be able to do anything because there was already a black shield on depth, so he would have stayed alive.
But
Marin would have gone down.
At the very least,
could
the damage
down,
could have done that.
That would have been a big deal.
It could have prevented the Baron straight off from EDG. And this is such a tense game for both sides here. Pawn finishing his death cap. Morgana's damage, as we saw here, is very front-loaded. If this game gets to a point where the burst doesn't take them down like it has been, SKT could still maybe come back with something, but EDG, Sivir getting more damage. They may even win the sustained damage war because Deft is really going off here as well.
Going off already. I say already, it took a while, but he's got the Quicksilver Sash, less targets for Bang to be looking at. They also have a spell shield to use. It's going to be hard for them to get everything they want in these fights.
And we have this problem here for SKT where their only wave play is the LeBlanc, so that's not enough, especially not with the buffed up minions and all this range damage coming from EDG, so they can just sit here, push 2 lanes at once, keep pushing in the super minions.
EDG is continually accelerating this game. It's what they are best at. SKT has shown a weakness of getting a little bit run over in these early mid games. This is the mid game, and EDG is pushing hard.
30 minutes on the inhibitor now. EDG eyes on the Nexus after this if they can get a huge fight. Marin comes in, sweeps 3 back to the turret. Mako's out. They get the Righteous Glory on, and they try to engage this one, but it's going to be damage onto Wolf. He gets out safely. Bleeding bars almost across the board here for SKT, but they defend the inhibitor.
And nobody died here, so EDG backing away from this one. The Baron buff should disappear fairly soon as well. And all inhibitor turrets are still alive.
Yep. Absolutely critical defense right there by SKT with the Baron buff burning nearly every ultimate from EDG, and then a flash on the backside. Boy, is Faker trying to make a play.
Definitely getting out these summoners that would stop him from making a play in these next fight. Faker has been not having a good time. He's cut back to 5 stacks, the original on that Magi after going down in the fight. 15s around, looking for level 16s to come up for the last bit of spike damage for these guys in their ultimates. Right now at 18-7, EDG is definitely in the driver's seat of this game.
As long as they keep doing what they're doing now, push down a few side lanes so you at least have the minions under your control, and then you simply just look for this hard engage every single time you have the chance. They're also timing Meganars for Marin really well in forcing the fight, so he's not able to have the impact he wants to. He's not able to sit in a side lane, stack up that Meganar, then teleport into the fight. No, it's EDG controlling the pace of the game, so they keep the assassin in check and they keep the Gnar away from having an impact in the fights.
Thought both of these teams rather showed most of what they had up their sleeve. The Evelynn and the Morgana pick. Going wild right now. 4-1 and 13, 5-1 and 10. Seems to be paying off a little bit here. EDG making another push down the mid lane. We're gonna have Marin backing, but he will be there in time.
We're back in the same situation where EDG knows they have a lot of poke they can land. Faker has to use his distortion every single time to clear the waves out in time.
Faker gets caught once. There's a chance EDG piles through them here. The next minion wave will be interesting to see if EDG is willing to commit. It's a bit of a disadvantageous fight if they commit to hitting the turret. Look at how aggressively SKT is staying in front of this one.
And look at the side lanes here. They've already been slow pushing from EDG. They set them up before here, so SKT have to fight. Otherwise, they know in just a few seconds they have to go and clear these side lanes. And that's where EDG can easily go in, take the last few hits on this mid tower and open up the base.
Playing around Marin's Meganar on that. Pink ward allows them to know they aren't in vision.
Okay, they do Marin, get the bottom lane
they
push.
Still know they're there.
Thought it was pushing the other way from before.
All it's going to take is one binding, guys. Pawn actually very low from a few shots from Bang. That Acid Hunter did connect, and EDG is now in a sore spot as they were pushing a little too hard. Getting over aggressive has been their problem in these fights, and now SKT is gonna want it. Absolute Zero keeps the tanks in range. They're able to drop down Mako now. That's gonna be Pong going down. Stacks for Faker, and a shutdown for him. So much tank now on SKT, but can they actually answer back? Deft is still alive, able to put out damage from the backside, and the DPS is just too much for the tanks of SKT.
Game-saving holds here from SKT. Pawn took too much damage to have an impact in that fight on Morgana. That's the critical thing. Faker landed poke before the fight, and EDG cannot crack SKT's base.
No, they cannot. Faker one after the other. Keeps going in with distortion to clear the waves. Pretty much all they have when it comes to that. And they are keeping them off the inhibitor turret amazingly.
We go back now to looking at the Dragon and the Baron for EDG. They've been using the Dragon to force fights, but not take the Dragon after because they wanted the Baron instead, so they had something where they could start pushing down the base of SK Telecom. They can look to do the same, but there's 3 Dragons on SKT right now, so you have to worry about potentially number 5, but EDG are still in a great position to win the team fights.
Yes, and the 5 Dragons may be SKT's way of winning this game. As far as EDG, the second Dragon only delays that, but the composition, as we saw there, if Faker gets bigger and bigger, he can chunk down Pawn more and more before these fights.
And he hits 16 now, so rank.
This Dragon fight can very easily transition into a Baron, which for EDG is the real win condition. So it's all about the fight, actually, more than specifically who gets this Dragon. It would be damn nice for EDG if they got it, though.
Let's look at Marin and his Gnar.
They might try another double flank. Coral, it's like the same story as last time. Eve, Maokai, here they come.
Faker is in the eyes of Clear Love, but he's zeroed out. He's not going to be able to get with the team. Bang in a bad spot. He goes down to Deft. Bengi's now trying to retreat. Faker gets hit very low, but in a safe spot. That's going to be Bengi going down. I'm not sure they're going to be able to protect this inhibitor turret now, gentlemen.
No, just go down, have your tanks on this tower here, take it down, get inhibitor as well for yourself. EDG, once again, they use the Dragon as some sort of a bait to get SKT moving down their wards all around them so they can flank with the Evelyn, with the Maokai. Didn't expect to say this, but this pick for Klilov has been working out.
The Evelyn with the flanks added to the Maokai is just trapping SKT in these fights. And Deficio, you and I were talking about ways EDG could win this series, and so much of it revolved around fighting for the Dragons, not necessarily taking them, because that's the way they could find SKT, a normally very elusive team. But this is another very dangerous Baron. EDG needs it to win. Here comes SK Telecom.
Bengi not there for the 50-50. Baron going very low at 1,500. It is going to go over to Clear.
Down goes Faker.
They take down Faker immediately. EDG could have eyes on the base. Marin's going to be a distraction, but he's going down very fast, even as Mega Gnar. Edward Gaming could have eyes on the Nexus, and we're 37 minutes in. SKT is going to try to put up one hell of a defense here.
Baron minions, the damage dealers down outside of Bank. 5 people alive for EDG. They are 1 push away from the mid-season Invitational Championship.
Bengi, Bang, and Wolf now trying to keep them from being extinct in the mid-season Invitational. Here's the last engage. EDG doesn't even see the turrets. Eyes on SKT. SK Telecom T1 are wiped. The Nexus turrets are going down. LPL's Edward Gaming are the 2015 mid-season Invitational champions.
For the first time that I can remember in a major international event of this caliber, All-Stars, Season 3 World Championship, All-Stars of the year then, the 2014 World Championship, a Korean team has fallen in a best-of-5. SK Telecom taken down here by Ed1 Gaming in a thrilling series of events. And these are your new champions.
On once again taking the victory on an international stage, also along with Deft. These guys know the feeling and once again get to live it. What a game. What a series to go all the way to 5. And Edward Gaming come out on top.
Standing ovation from the crowd here. The amazingness of this series, Deficio.
The way you win this one, you give LeBlanc to Faker, you're ready to counter it, you go back to the style that works for you, where you dive onto the enemy team, and you just win team fight after
Ladies
team
and
fight.
gentlemen, your 2015 Mid-Season Invitational Champions, Edward Gaming! Please put your hands together for Riot, Redbird, and Magus for the presentation of the medals.